This morning, it's a legal clash of the titans, with one of the most high-powered organizations in American sports, NASCAR, pitted in a heavyweight battle against one of the most celebrated athletes of all time, NBA Hall of Famer and six-time champion, Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan. Jordan walked into a federal courthouse and pulled off something nobody expected. He forced some of NASCAR's top executives to answer questions under oath. Here's what's unfolding right now in Charlotte, North Carolina. The greatest basketball player in history is taking on one of the country's oldest sporting institutions. And the details coming out in this trial are absolutely unbelievable.
Tonight, after spending decades dominating the basketball court, NBA legend Michael Jordan competing in a courtroom, suing NASCAR, saying it's abusing its power as a monopoly. All part of a lawsuit brought by Jordan's 2311 racing team.
Jordan co-owns this NASCAR team with driver Denny Hamlin. The team launched in 2020, and honestly, they've done pretty well. But last September, NASCAR dropped a bombshell on all the teams. They demanded everyone sign a brand new contract, a 112-page agreement, and gave them only 6 hours to sign it. 6 hours. Imagine your teacher handing you a massive final exam and saying, you've got until lunchtime to finish. Jordan and one other team owner, Bob Jenkins of Front Row Motorsports, refused to sign. Now they're in court arguing that NASCAR is running the sport like a monopoly, meaning they hold too much control and use that power in ways that hurt the teams financially. When Jordan took the witness stand last Friday, he did not sugarcoat anything. He explained exactly why he chose to sue. Jordan said other team owners have been pushed around for years trying to push for change, but were never able to make it happen. Then he said something that sums up his entire attitude in this fight. He looked directly at the jury and said, "I wasn't afraid to challenge NASCAR." Think about that. These other team owners have been connected to NASCAR for decades. They own gigantic facilities worth hundreds of millions. They have sponsors, employees, entire operations depending on NASCAR. They felt trapped. But Jordan? He's Michael Jordan. He's not intimidated by anyone. Jordan also talked about why he even got involved in NASCAR to begin with. He grew up in North Carolina watching races with his family. They'd load up the car and drive all the way to Talladega, Alabama, just to watch stock car races. His first favorite driver was Richard Petty because that's who his dad supported. Later, he switched to Cale Yarborough. Jordan actually joked about it in court, calling Yarborough the original number 11. Then turned to Denny Hamlin, who drives the 11 now, and said, "Sorry, Denny, but Jordan's biggest point was about money." He said NASCAR treats its teams like contractors instead of partners. In the NBA, owners and players share roughly half the league's revenue. Everyone succeeds together. But in NASCAR, Jordan said the situation is the complete opposite. Teams are struggling financially while NASCAR brings in massive profits. Jordan said he has personally poured between $35 million and $40 million into his team. That's a lot of money, even for him. He even bought a third charter for $28 million just to stay competitive. And the crazy part? That charter is essentially worthless now, because they didn't sign the new contract. Now let's talk about Denny Hamlin, because his time on the stand was emotional and explosive. Hamlin broke down in tears when describing his father, who is currently very ill. He talked about how much his dad supported his racing career from the very beginning. It was heartbreaking. But then Hamlin's tone shifted when NASCAR's lawyer began pressing him. There was a moment back in 2023 when Hamlin had lunch with Jim France, the head of NASCAR and member of the family that has controlled the sport since 1948. Hamlin wanted to discuss the financial problems teams were facing. France's response? He told Hamlin that teams were spending too much money. He claimed each team should only spend around $10 million a season instead of $20 million. Hamlin was stunned. He told France, "We've cut this grass so short we're down to the dirt," meaning teams have already cut their budgets as low as possible. Hamlin asked how he was ever supposed to recoup his investment. France had no answer at all. That's when Hamlin realized something drastic had to change. Hamlin said the new contract NASCAR pushed was basically my death certificate for the future. He said if they agreed to it, 23X Racing would be out of business in 10 years. Right now, their profit margin is just 2.26%. That means losing one major sponsor would wipe out all profit instantly. Here's another bombshell from the trial. NASCAR's lawyer tried to undermine Hamlin by showing podcast clips where he spoke positively about NASCAR and their new race car. They were trying to make him look two-faced, but Hamlin explained the situation perfectly. He said, "What I do publicly is put out positive messages. That's my job. You give me talking points. I say it to make fans feel happy." Basically, NASCAR tells drivers what to say publicly, and there are consequences if they don't cooperate. Hamlin admitted that everything he said publicly was out of context because he's essentially required to put on a happy face. Then there's Bob Jenkins, the owner of Front Row Motorsports. And his story is even harsher. Jenkins adores NASCAR and has been running a team since 2004, yet he has lost $100 million doing it. $100 million, and that includes winning the Daytona 500 in 2021, the biggest event in the sport. Jenkins said he reluctantly signed the original charter agreement in 2016, believing things would improve. But the new deal NASCAR offered last year was even worse. He called it insulting. Jenkins said NASCAR wanted complete control, an iron fist. He compared it to taxation without representation. He also revealed that legendary team owner Joe Gibbs personally apologized to him for signing the new contract. Gibbs didn't want to, but he had too much invested to do otherwise. Speaking of Joe Gibbs, his daughter-in-law Heather Gibbs delivered powerful testimony as well. She wrote a letter to Jim France pleading for charters to become permanent. Charters are similar to franchises in other sports. They guarantee your team a place in every race and access to shared revenue. When France read her letter, NASCAR president Steve O'Donnell texted another NASCAR executive saying France was reading it aloud and swearing after every other sentence. But when O'Donnell testified, he suddenly claimed France wasn't swearing at all. The contradiction made NASCAR look shady and unreliable. Money is the core issue in this entire legal battle. NASCAR currently pays each chartered team $12.5 million per year. Sounds like a lot, until you learn it costs $20 million just to run one car across all 38 races. And that number doesn't include driver salaries, buildings, shop staff, nothing. Teams lose money every year. Meanwhile, NASCAR reported a $13 million profit last year. The France family earned $400 million over a 3-year span. And Goldman Sachs valued NASCAR at $5 billion. NASCAR argues they have helped teams, pointing to charter values skyrocketing. The first charter sold for $6 million in 2018. Today, they can go for $45 million. NASCAR claims that's proof their system works, but the teams disagree. They point out that 11 of the original 19 chartered teams have already shut down. That's over half. If the system really worked, why are so many teams collapsing? There's also controversy surrounding the race car itself. If Jordan and Jenkins win this lawsuit, they could receive hundreds of millions of dollars in damages or force NASCAR to overhaul its entire business structure. A judge could literally dismantle NASCAR's business model. But if NASCAR wins, 23 Sussex Racing will likely close its doors. Jordan has made it clear he's fighting for permanent charters. If he doesn't get them, he's done. The sport would lose a team owned by the most famous athlete on earth, and the message would be loud and clear. Teams have no real power against NASCAR.